Introducing the ultimate seat cover, Tiger Tough. Proudly made in the US of A, waterproof and backed by an unconditional warranty. Yes, you heard it right. 2 years on vehicles and a lifetime guarantee on heavy equipment. They have you covered for manufacturer defects, normal wear and tear, and even those oh shit moments. Tiger Tough covers are meticulously crafted for a perfect fit with over 30,000 pre-fit designs, ensuring they stay in place without any shifting or sliding. Plus, they're even machine washable. Don't settle for less. Get a seat cover today that's built to last. Order today at tigertough.com/dirt. Get a free logo embroidery on your first order if you use the code DIRTBAG at checkout. Once received, show us your new badass seat covers with your logo and tag us. Experience durability and quality with Tiger Tough seat covers. Toughness guaranteed.
What's up, you dirtbags? We have got the man, Mr. Ryan Schares, in studio with me. Ryan, how we doing?
Doing real good.
Dude, long time coming. So excited to have you on. And for anyone listening, the last episode we had, I believe we had Luke Payne back in studio. Next episode, he's going to be back again. So excited to kind of get in this rhythm of Dirt Tales episodes and then also our Q&A and rant episodes. And this episode is so perfect. I was so excited to record this. Ryan, you and I were talking, sort of been probably last week. You're talking to our team. I was just getting back from Norway, and essentially you were going through some things, and I was like, yeah, let's jump on a call. Let's kind of work through some strategy things. And the more I was thinking about it, I was like, this might be perfect for a podcast. Like, if we're going to talk about it anyway, if we're going to work through this strategy, what a perfect opportunity to hit record and just send it out for everyone else to hear. Because we were talking about right before this, so many other people are likely going through this. So super excited to dive in today. But before we start in that, if you could give like a little bit more of an intro of where you're at, who you are, and obviously Schares Landscaping. If you don't follow him on Instagram, go do it now. But give a little overview of kind of where you're at currently.
Yeah, so I want to first start by apologizing. I am not Luke P. So sorry, guys. I'll do my best. But so anyway, we're in Iowa, kind of eastern Iowa. Just a two-man show. It's me and another guy. We try and focus on just hardscapes. Obviously, there's some filler that's needed in there. You're not always going to get that big retaining wall to do, but I guess what we would consider like a heavy dirt moving job. So yeah, that's what we do. And then in the spring and the fall, we kind of set aside some time to do some finish grading and hydro seeding. We do that as well. Kind of shut down during the heat, and then obviously during the dormant seasons or whatever. So yeah, that's the gist of it. The very broad, I guess.
Yeah. And then what are you guys running for equipment currently? And how did you get up to that point of where you're at with your current fleet?
I guess I was kind of a one-man show. I had a second shift job at John Deere, actually. So nobody was around during the day. So I just kind of that was my background, just kind of kept at it. And things started progressing and the workload kind of picked up. My first skid loader was a 323D John Deere. It's a good skid loader, but I wouldn't recommend the D series. Anyway, then we jumped into the 325. That's a completely different loader. I guess got a mini from there, a 35G. That was a good machine. I did what we did, dug footings, tile lines, whatever. I had some summertime help at that point, and things were going well. Things were picking up. And I guess then the kids started coming, and not being home from 7 to 11, it kind of wears on you and the family. So one had to go, and to be totally honest, I was a little bit too far in debt to sell the equipment and just focus on a 40-hour week job. So I mean, there was other issues, but it was a pretty easy decision, I guess, for me. Not so much for my wife, but that took some convincing. So.
Yeah. So basically you need to choose a path, and unfortunately it was kind of more one-sided, but you could look at it as fortunately.
Absolutely.
It helped you. It kind of kicked you into the decision of.
Yeah, for sure. Business. It's been a great decision. And that job just kind of turned into 8 hours of thinking what I had to do outside, and I wasn't a good employee. I'll say that. Sorry,
Yeah.
John Deere.
And
You
which
can edit that out, but
no, we're leaving it in. Which year did you then, go start your own business, or which year did you start, and then which year did you fully like move into it?
so I graduated high school in 2008. Worked lawn care for a guy in town here, and did that for a little while. And I went to school for horticulture. Finished that, got a job with a local company, local landscape company, and that actually kind of, I guess, started my landscape. I was thrown in the ringer. They kind of just said, "Here's a job, Schares, go figure it out."
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and yeah, it was. So after that, I went back to school, and there was still time, and that was my income was some side jobs in landscaping, and it just kind of kept on building. The calls kept coming, and jobs got bigger, and I saw the need for equipment. And the first year I had a skid loader, that was like a huge eye opener. It was so much more efficient. Um, I was really worried about taking a loan out on one, but that was like the best decision I'd ever made, just because I was worried about making the payment. So I worked that much harder, and
Yeah.
it just kind of came together. So
Yeah. It's
yep,
interesting too, because yeah, like a lot of it is the mentality, but also how do you have that mentality and not get too over leveraged so that when you see a
right,
slowdown, you're not swimming in debt of, 10 pieces of equipment that you're
sure.
underwater on. And so I guess how would you keep that mindset of, you got to go out and you got to be hungry to get the work to make these payments, but at the same time, not take out too much? Like, is there a certain thing you look at when you're buying equipment versus renting?
I guess like anybody, I'll look at a monthly payment. I don't like renting things. When I did have my second shift job, if I rented something, it was always you gotta 2 hours with it, and then you got to get it back, and then you got to go to your job. So I just kind of took the approach of buying things and paying for things as they went. I guess there's a balance you got to find. You got to make the payments make sense. If the equipment can continuously make you money, a payment is fine, in my opinion. Now, obviously, like you say, there's a ceiling there. You just got to stay within your means and then pay cash for what you can, and yeah, you just got to find that balance. And you got to have an idea on some of your numbers. That's big, like, and what you can do in a week, in a month. And obviously, yeah, just know in our district or area that winter's coming sometime, and money's going to shut off. So
Yeah, if people listening, I mean, you're in Iowa, and so there is snow that's going to come. And
maybe,
yeah, well, yeah, that's true actually. And it's
yeah,
not all winters are the same, but you can definitely bet on like it's likely going to slow down. So,
right.
what do you do in the winter? How do you kind of handle that? And how do you, I guess this is just for me, like how do you kind of wrap up your season with a bow when you don't really know when it's going to end?
Oh, it's tough. I mean, there comes a point in the season, when you're estimating things, you kind of got to tell people like, I might have time for this, but we're out till November. You don't know what you're going to get there, and you just got to make that clear to potential customers that you might, and if you get it done, then obviously you get it done, but it might be a next spring type of deal. So we'll just
Yeah.
go as late as we can. I'm kind of a fair weather landscaper. I don't like freezing. So if there's a certain time where the ground's just too hard. As landscapers, we still use shovels here and there, and you can't use equipment for everything. So when the ground's
Yeah.
froze, it's froze. So
Absolutely. Yeah, I was talking to Josh Williams from Lakeland Septic today, and he's out in Florida, and they do all septic. And I was like, "Do you guys have like a season or a slow season or how?" He's like, "Not really." And he said it's kind of always busy, and I just think that's so funny coming from the Midwest where like a lot of companies, of course, they'll do snow removal or they'll do different things, but there's seasons to it. Like it's such a big
right,
change. And there's a lot of times this middle ground area where like it's too cold to do this, but it's not cold enough to do your next service. So it's always fun talking with people that, you know, do live up in the Midwest or out east, that, you know, how do you keep machines rolling? Or if they're not rolling, you know, what do you do with your team? What do you do with your guys? How do you kind of make those winters work? And I feel like a lot of people have different answers for that, and it's just different for every company.
Right. Yeah. And like last winter, so I just have one employee, and he came in every day. I don't like laying him off. So, you know, just try and keep him busy. We only had 2 weeks worth of snow, but there was always just seemed like something to do, something to weld, something to fix. And those 2 weeks of snow probably, not that they were, you know, other than the 2 weeks of snow, they didn't generate any income, but it was something for him to do and stay busy, you know, kind of rounding up equipment, washing equipment, greasing. Yeah, it seemed to be a busy year for only 2 weeks worth of snow. So
yeah. So has your winter looked different throughout the years, or has it been pretty much the same?
as far as like accounts or just
Both, just accounts, and then how you keep, because your employee, was he working there the previous winter as well?
yeah, this is his second winter with.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll start and so we all the snow removal side is with two other partners.
Yeah.
And they also have some employees that work for us as well. Um, it- yeah, we like the previous winter. It seemed like it was snowing, and then I really like keeping like the salt and stuff off of loaders and trucks, and so it was always kind of power washing and um, fluid filming things, and you know every seemed like that was like a 30-hour week job just doing that. So. Um, and there's always salt runs and everything, you know, even with the little snows. So yeah, last winter was weird, just because we only did have 2 weeks of snow, and winters are always tough. You know, if there's nothing to do, I'll just say get out of here, and you know I'll give you your 8 hours, whatever. I don't like not paying him 40. I guess I just think it's kind of silly. He
Yeah,
works with me all year and long summer days, and it's like, you know what, I don't have any problem with you collecting a paycheck. So
right. It's also small, right? And I feel like I have a similar mindset where, you know, it's kind of like the salary mindset a little bit, where it's like you've helped out in the longer hours. So yeah, in
right,
the short hours, like it's all kind of the same. It's all in the same bucket. And
yep.
as long as you're here like mentally and physically, and you just give me that, yeah, we're good either way. So I definitely see a lot of guys too doing that with their team and their employees. And then with your business too, you know, hardscaping, you're besides the winter, spring, summer, fall, I mean, you guys are running, you guys are busy. How are you juggling jobs and scheduling jobs when it's you and then one extra person? Like walk me through that. How do you keep all that organized with just two people?
That's kind of why we're here today.
Sure. Yeah.
So the reason I messaged you guys, it was hot. I mean, it was the hottest week we had here. It was hot, and we were on a big project, and uh, I guess just to be flat out, my employee Charlie, call him Charlie. He's a great guy, good employee, cares about the business. He's more than capable of working by himself. I just hate the fact that when there's things I have to take care of and he's out there by himself, I can't stand it. Um, he's full capable of handling it. It's just something that's in me that I can't stand to do. And at some point, I got to realize that that's a necessity. I kind of try and we have jobs that you could definitely do with one guy, and some people might laugh like, yeah, that's a one guy job all day. I don't really look at them that way. I mean, I think the next 2 days we got a brush mowing job, so that's obviously a one man job. Send them out, go get it, and I'll get caught up here in the office. You know, there's some jobs that we kind of got to get staged for. Charlie handles all the trucking and moving equipment, so that's, you know, try and sneak in office time whenever I can. Trucking, any kind of single man jobs. That's I try and kind of line up my office work and estimates when he's busy doing that. Otherwise, there's just some like shop things that need done too. Mid season
So
maintenance.
are you better, and there's no obviously right or wrong answer. Are you better in the office or in the field or in the shop? Like, where are you best placed?
I kind of feel like I'm in a lot of people's shoes here. I feel like I'm the best everywhere.
I
But
like that.
wow, that's pretty arrogant. But
No, that's perfect.
I mean, I guess with one downfall, starting the business on my own is I was the only one, and so I was just used to doing everything by myself. So I think I can still do everything by myself. And I'm going to turn 34 here in 7 days, so 35, and it's getting up there. And, I realize I can't do everything by myself now.
Yeah, you're halfway to 70. I mean,
I know
yeah.
it. I was
No,
just
that's
talking to my Murphy salesman here yesterday, and I'm like, maybe this is my midlife crisis. He's like, midlife? You're young yet, and I'm like, I don't know if I plan on living that long. So
yeah. No, that's awesome. But yeah, dude, it's so accurate and so funny. And it's like I was telling somebody this analogy the other day, and I think the analogy is in the E-Myth Revisited book, which is an amazing book if you haven't read it. But it talks about the entrepreneur that like falls off the cliff and grabs onto the vine and is hanging on for dear life. And the vine represents their business. And so somebody walks over the edge and he's yelling help, and he's like, help me, help me. And the person's like, you need to let go of the vine. And, or the person says, is somebody up there? And the person says, you need to let go of the vine. And he's like, is anyone else up there? Just because he can't let go of the
sure,
vine, and vine being the business. And so I just think it's a funny analogy because so many times we think we're different and like this is a special scenario, but like nobody can do what I can. And it's such a great conversation though, because you probably thought that before you hired on Charlie. And now, now you have two guys and it's you and Charlie running this thing and doing well. But now what you're experiencing, I think, is growing pains of like, okay, what is the next step and how do I continue to fulfill my clients' needs to what they deserve? And
right.
if you keep growing, you can't do it all.
Yep. Yeah, and that's where we're at right now. I mean, thanks to you, we're getting the phones ringing, and thanks to you and your team at Phaser there. The phone's
All
ringing,
right.
and uh, I got to stay on top of calls, and I've recently found out that, if you wait a week to get somebody an estimate back, the chances of them just saying,
Yeah.
they're not even going to respond to you. So you're kind of wasting your time if you let things go that long, and that hurts, especially when we're on a big project like the project we've been working on. If you've been following along at all, it's yeah, it's tough. I mean, everybody deals with it. It's just I gotta decide which way to go here.
Right.
I'm
And
kind of at a Y in the road here.
you can kind of break it up too, because it's like, you look at the sales and the leads, and speed to lead is so important. And so you need to be
Definitely.
contacting them right away and taking care of their needs because they're calling you with a need. But then the quality of the work, like the fulfillment and making sure that the job is done correctly. And then of course all the office stuff and all of the shop stuff. And so one thing that I think of is, a lot of times we think of, okay, who's the next laborer, who's the next operator, who's the next person coming in? But can you flip it and say, is there an office position, like a part-time office admin? Is there a full-time office admin, like a badass office manager that can kind of straighten me out and organize everything? And so I feel like there's a lot of different places to look. So I guess
Sure.
as you're starting to look at the year here, this is another piece to think of is we're coming to the end of the year. And do you hire now or do you hire in the winter or do you hire in the spring? So have you thought about those things and like timing of everything?
You know, I know the answer, what I have to do. Um, I guess, but that's kind of what's holding me back is it's only beginning of September, but we are kind of coming into the end of the year here, and yes, they can help with snow if we get snow, and we probably need help with snow. But it's not guaranteed, and like I say, I don't like paying unemployment. I pay into unemployment, but I don't like paying it out. Maybe that's probably stupid, but I don't know. It's just the way I am. So
Yeah. I mean,
um,
I don't think it's stupid at all. And I just think with like, like things, and this is like a good thing to talk about, of course, because and we addressed that this is like a good problem to have. And people do trust you and you are growing. And so it's like, okay, what is that next step and what is that next hire? But also addressing that, it doesn't always have to be right now. And so is it somebody that you can kind of bring in on a part-time basis with the intent of starting full-time next spring? Like that's another option that I was thinking of like, kind of get them within the system, get them on some jobs, getting to know you, and then starting full-time when you guys kind of kick off 2025 spring.
yeah, that's a good thought. I mean, yeah, like you say, we might find some winter help that kind of likes what we're doing here. And I'm not gonna lie, winter time's a lot of fun with the other two guys. We all got radios and
Yeah.
loaders and trucks, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're the only people out there. You can talk a lot of smack on the radio, and it gets pretty fun. I don't know. Yeah, it's something like that could come up, and I guess it kind of depends on the next couple weeks here. What all comes in. I've spent the whole week in the office here trying to get some bids out and stuff, and we're nearing being booked out, I guess. And booked out is just a guess when the year is going to end. But there's some few big jobs that I just threw some numbers at, educated numbers. And,
Yeah. Right.
so
Right.
we'll see. I mean, if things start coming in here, and there's always those people that are need it done this year, where we have that availability still. And yeah, I don't know. I guess the next couple weeks are really going to play a huge factor in
Yeah.
what happens.
Yeah, and it's kind of nice to have a little bit of wiggle room where if somebody says, hey, I need this done this year, and you can price that into your bid, of course, of just like this is not ideal for us, but if you absolutely need it done, here's what we can do it for, and we can work you in. Then, obviously that's extra profit for your team and the business and to keep going. But also, you should never be ashamed of charging something more to expedite a
For
project and
immediate service. Yeah.
immediate service. Exactly. It's like emergency service. Like if you want it now, I will absolutely come and do it. It just, this is what it's going to cost. And
Right.
if they see that price, they see the breakdown and they agree to it, like they know exactly what they're doing. And so some of those jobs at the end of the year here can really give you a nice bump, but at the same time too, if those don't come in, like you're still on schedule to finish.
Yeah, that, and you can really make some people mad because you told them you'd be there,
Yeah.
and you don't, because you threw this other job in front of it. That's not something I'm looking to do. I'm trying to be reasonable, I guess, with it. And yeah, I like having availability at the end of the year. It's nice because there are people that maybe just shut down. They've met their quota or whatever. I guess I don't really have a quota. It's just go till you can't, and
Yeah.
yeah. So.
Yeah. Go until you can't, help as many people as you can, make some
Yeah,
money this
that's
year.
helping people is huge. I don't just It's just something I went to look at a job yesterday, and they had somebody else come level. It was a piece of plywood with some structure underneath of it, and they were going to put a shed on top of it. And they were like, "Well, how much to level this?" And I'm like, "Give me 20 minutes and a shovel, and I can I can have it leveled out."
Yeah.
And they're just
Right.
like, "What do we owe you?" And I'm like, "Just nothing." Like,
Yeah.
it was sandy
Right.
ground. It was easy, and
Yeah.
just helping them out. I love that. Like, I think Garrett Wilson kind of says it all the time. He's like, "Wish I could just help people for free, but you got to pay bills." That's definitely a huge. It's a nice pat on the back when people are appreciative of the job you did.
I
So
tell you what, though, like the more you can build your business and the more efficient you can be and the more successful you can make it, doesn't mean big, doesn't mean a bunch of employees, but just more efficient, the more people you can help for free. And the more people you can just say, yeah, I've got extra time, I'll come out and we'll help you because we've got equipment that we're not underwater on. You're not desperate for like payments to come in just to make
sure.
payroll. And you're just doing a little bit extra to help some other people. So I think that's another thing to strive for in business, is just, build something that is a machine, that is a vehicle, that is running well, so that you can do that much more. You can support the school systems and the baseball
Yep.
team. If they need something in the parade, like, you're there and all that.
You
So,
got the equipment or whatever.
yep,
Yeah.
exactly. But you're not just like so strapped that you can't do any of this stuff because you're desperate for, to make that Friday
Yep.
payment. And that's going to come up in everyone's business. Everyone's going to be tight in certain seasons, but how can you build it so there's a lot less of those times?
Right. Yeah. Even like just advice, I feel like as a landscaper, you're a little more well-rounded and, a lot of trades, just because you deal with everything, and you're kind of the last man in to anything. So yeah, you just need to be well-rounded. And there's a lot of foundation questions that I get. I had a buddy that reached out, his mom's foundation's failing or something. He's like, "Hey, you want to come look at this?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, just having the time to do that it feels good." Which sometimes we lack, I guess, as we're talking about. But
Yeah,
when you
but
do have that time, it's just nice. So
absolutely. And that's also why we're talking about this, is to buy some of that time back, and
right.
then continue to grow it. And so that you can be available if one of your clients calls you, or if one of your employees calls you, and you need to take 20, 30 minutes to talk with them. Like, you're not worried about 10 other things, but you can sit there and talk with them and be present in the moment with them.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. That's right now, I guess I can still find time to get out of the office when I need to. If I mean, it's not hard to tie me into here, I guess. So, but
Oh yeah, I see you
yeah, we
floating
got.
in the river.
It's not hard to get me out of here, but
Yeah. Dude,
it's
that's awesome. What do you do? What do you like to do outside of work? Obviously, this consumes so much of our lives in a good, positive way too. It's not all negative. It's like, we love business, we love running a company and things like that. But what do you like to do separate from that?
yeah, I like to spend a lot of time with my family, and then my wife's gonna laugh at me because my mind's probably always on business, but
Yeah.
I do enjoy spending time with them. But, that might sound really bad, but I do. And we like golfing and going camping and just getting away on the weekends. We rarely work weekends. I think I worked like one Saturday last year, and definitely none this year. And all the holidays we're taking off, doing something. Got 3 little kids, so there's always something going on. So
Yeah. Let's say, fast forward a couple of years, let's say we got, 5, 6 employees or something, business is going well. What do you implement from where you're at now, and some of that, I guess you could say, balance, or what you like to do, and how do you implement that as you continue to grow, and for your employees as well?
um, I'd like to get to where 5 o'clock rolls around and we're shutting down, and that would be big because right now we're just kind of running until a good stopping point, and that wears on all of us.
Yeah.
So that's something I'd really like to, hey, you're gonna 10 hours and half a day Friday if we're caught up, or even doing well on a job. And we've taken a lot of half day Fridays. Just Charlie's got something going on, or I do, and I don't have a problem with that. It's like
Yeah.
there's always Monday, but in the back of your mind, you're always kind of you feel bad about doing it, and I'd like to have that comfort of knowing, like, yeah, we just get out of here. We're
Yeah.
we're sitting pretty good. So
Yeah, and some of that takes time too, right? Like, being a younger business, like, you don't have a lot of the assets and a lot of the bankroll and past contracts that uh, we would, 10 years down the road. And so what I've noticed is our business has grown, and our clients' businesses have grown, is it gets a little bit easier as you've spent some more time in the business. You've learned a lot more. You've gotten screwed over more, so you know what to avoid. And just like, there's a lot of things that you learn along the way, but that it does seemingly, you have more information and you're educated. And so it's not that it gets easier, but you can make more informed decisions and well-educated decisions.
better decisions. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That's something I'd like to do. And then, oh, I don't know. There's just when an estimate comes up or when I need to get one sent out, I just want to get to the point where I don't feel bad leaving the job and going to take care of that. And
Mhm.
I think he understands. I'm not bad mouthing him here. I think he understands that I need to do what I need to do, but I guess I feel my conscience is probably just what gets me like I don't want to leave him here alone. It might just be equipment work, and it's definitely nothing I would never do on
Right.
my own. Like, but that might be taking it to an extreme there because there's some
Yeah.
things. But yeah, that would definitely be something that would be nice to get to a point.
Yeah, absolutely. And at any point too, like as the entrepreneur, as you start to grow and remove yourself from certain areas, whether that's in the office, in the field, in the shop, like you're going to see it dip a little bit, but then where you were at, it's going to dip, but then it's going to go above where you ever could go by yourself, and that's kind of the point of it too. And you have to expect that a little bit, but then you become that leader and that boss, or not boss, but that leader and that teacher of like, this is how we at Schares Landscaping would like things to be done
Sure.
and to what level. And then you get to teach like, everyone coming in that is doing that work, how to get there. So, but that'll also help propel you into that, kind of that next chapter. I feel like that's almost where you're at, is like, you've done so well building it to this point, and now it's like almost the turn of the page, which is exciting, but it's also just some of those growing pains of like, yeah, it might look a little different come next
Right.
spring, and
Eh,
how everything works.
I'm definitely like prepared for a little bit of a dip. Like I've told a bunch of friends like I just want to have, I want two, 3 good employees, but I want them to be able to like uh, mess around for like 15, 20 minutes. Like, right now we're just so we don't have any downtime, everything just
Yeah,
kind of
you're
flows.
going.
And it's like, man, I just want Charlie laughs, but it's like I want them to just like have fun and
Yeah,
be able to dick around for, half hour or something. Just end of the day, like, yeah, we got enough done. Maybe
dude,
yeah, it
that's
would
what
just
it's all.
help out.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, right? It's just like, it's not as serious as it needs to be, but also right now where you're at in business, it is that point of like, okay, we do have to get this stuff done. We do have deadlines. We do have a lot going on. But then as you continue to grow, there likely will be a little bit of that margin, and you'll still run hard. But like you said, 15, 20, 30 minutes at the end of the day, just to be able to dick around and like build
Yep.
that culture really. And I think that's where that comes from too. It's working hard, but then be able to like decompress a little bit
Right.
after.
Yeah. And, you could probably work harder if you have those breaks, where you do laugh, you're crying, laughing, and then you get back to it, and you're probably going to work harder than,
Yeah,
you would have if you would have just kept working straight through it. And not that anything we do is like, you know, hard. I mean, we got the equipment to kind of make everything easy, but there's days where it's 100 degrees and you're cutting
not as
block with a
fun.
face mask on. It's like, huh, this sucks.
Yeah, and
So,
I actually wanted to talk about that too. So you mentioned, you got the equipment. For anyone that doesn't follow Ryan, Shares Landscaping, you can find him on Instagram, TikTok, all the social media platforms. But what type of equipment have you used or do you use that has helped you become more efficient, that has really helped, yeah, I guess take you to that next step? And obviously I'm hinting at something here, but I think there's a lot more going on. And I always think it's fascinating when I talk to contractors about this, because it's fairly new in the United States, it seems like, but it's not new all across the world. So if you want to
yeah.
touch on that, of just some of the technology and some of the equipment you've brought in to help you do your job better.
Yeah. So I guess back when I first decided, so we have a 75G John Deere with an Encon tilt rotator on it. Um, I kind of was talking to my salesman. I'm just like, "Yeah, I'd really like to see a 75." And I think they put a bug in his ear, and then he got one coming to the dealership. He's like, "Hey, I got a 75." And I'm like, all right.
Classic.
So I knew I wanted an Encon, and I just kind of took a leap of faith there. And actually, that I bought it right in the spring. Well, started paying for it right in the spring, and uh, Charlie wasn't with me that winter. He actually kind of went somewhere else. I'm like, well, I'm gonna do this by myself, and that was my ticket. And luckily Charlie came back and we, kind of got rolling on it. So anyway, yeah, we got tilt rotator with we got a grabber, sorting grab, and that's how we set 90% of our retaining walls. There's some bigger block that we still have to sling with a chain. So we set those, but then, the top 3 courses are just grab and go. And as long as you can get them close enough to the excavator, it's pretty simple. I have to stand there and tell which way to rotate or, forward or out, whatever, but it's effortless. It is. And then this summer, I guess we invested in some MC Mobile from TopCon. So it's an LPS system with a total station. It's not GPS, but you can build your own models from it with elevations and everything. And so it's a 3D system, but you can also just run it in 2D, without the base, the total station setup. You just turn it on and it's got all the sensors and everything in there. And that's really been nice because previous, Charlie could dig a ways, but I'd have to check, with a stick, and now he can dig 50, 60 feet, and I'll just verify here and there, and I can go off and do something else. And so yeah, that's definitely improved efficiency. And with the bigger block that we use, our base course is our grading bucket's 50 inches wide, so that's how wide our base rock is. So 50 inches front to back plus 40 feet long. That's a lot of checking with a stick, and you can just see in the cab where you're at, how much your bucket's tilted and where you're sitting. And Charlie's really gotten good at that, and we can level a whole garage pad with it in 2D, and it's pretty slick. So yeah, definitely investing in the right equipment and technology is a no-brainer. I mean, I think that LPS system was like 50,000, something like that. But to be honest, it's probably replaced a guy. So that's how we keep getting by with just me and another guy. But we're getting to a point where it's not working anymore. And
I mean, but that's such a great point, and that's why I'm glad we brought it up, because historically they would have just hired another person, right? And that is what this technology is replacing in a good way, because it's not replacing this person, but it's like making you guys more efficient, where you don't have to be there the entire time, and so you can go do something else. Is there, with where you're at right now and everything we've talked about and the technology and equipment you have, is there a next step up that you would look at, or what would be next?
That's where I need to do some soul searching here and really figure out where we need to go. Do I kind of stick with the landscaping, or do we kind of try and get into more heavy dirt moving?
Right.
And there's certain times where we could use another skid loader, because we could both be skid loader and with another employee. It's probably going to really decide where we go, or we need to get a bigger excavator or a smaller excavator. I think we just need to add something. But again, it just need to decide which direction we're going to go. I actually had Rex go out here today. They gave me some sweet sunglasses.
Put them on.
What do you think about those?
Put them on. I see the stick. There we go.
Wow. Right. I'm going to try and sell an excavator. Give them a pair of these. Pretty cool.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
But yeah, we had that conversation. They're like, well, we don't have a 50 size machine like John Deere. I'm all John Deere guys. Have a good relationship with my dealer, and he's a good guy. And yeah, it's just, I need to figure out where we need to go. I mean, I know the answer, I guess, on the employee side. I just need to figure out, like, direction wise, what the next best move is.
And also too, that, we obviously we work with you guys on the marketing side, and that's part of the pros too, is that a lot of our clients, I mean, they're always changing. And so, but that's what you need to do in business. You always need to be agile. And like, if you're getting great margins, you're loving the work over here, and you're still doing this and you hate doing it, you're losing money every job. Like, you have to keep your eyes open and your head above water. And so on the marketing side, that's what we get to help you with. Is like, yes, you're making the ultimate decision, but we can then help put it into place of like, well, let's see if there's a market in Iowa for this service. Let's see how we've been doing for, these types of jobs. And so it just helps where you don't have to make all the decisions yourself. And also too, as you've been doing, you're talking to, your family, your wife, you're talking to other people, and just, it's not just an automatic decision, and it shouldn't be. It should
Right.
be, well thought through, but also too, not every decision is going to work. And so knowing like, yeah, that was a stupid decision. Let's go back
Yeah.
to that. And so you can't, and the reason I say that too is a lot of guys I work with, they might be in landscaping, right? And they love Instagram. They love the big dozers and the excavators, and
Oh
they're
yeah.
just, oh, I want to be a dirt mover. I'm gonna go buy this equipment and get into dirt moving. I'm like, be careful, because
Yeah.
also don't bite the hand that is feeding you, kind of thing. And
Right.
so
Absolutely.
if you've got good cash flow, you got great guys, and you got this thing going, it's like, yes, you can introduce it and see if it starts working and taking off, and then maybe start moving from that bucket over. But also just, do it methodically. Don't just cut it all off. Don't turn off the spigot. Keep it going, be very malleable and transparent, and just like keep it going, and then, slowly make that decision over. But it stresses me out when people will completely cut off what has been working to go
Yeah,
do
for sure.
something like mass excavation. And yeah, it's a little stressful.
Yeah. And I don't think I ever want to get into like Mass X. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the margins in landscaping are pretty high, but it's hard work. And Mass X, just some of the projects that the public lettings and stuff. It's like how are these guys making any money? I don't get it. What things cost, and it's like, I mean, so that helps that definitely sways the decision. But at the same time, I grew up with the small edging and rock jobs. I guess the garden borders and all that, and you know, I guess I really like running equipment if I get the chance to, and
Yeah.
there's just nothing you can run equipment doing that. So,
Right.
and maybe there's an option or an idea that needs to be thought of that you can.
Mm.
Encons are coming a long ways. Maybe somebody can make a curbing machine with an Encon.
Yeah,
I
dude,
don't know,
honestly, at
something like
this rate,
that.
I'm sure it's coming. So
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. And wasn't it you that bought the broom attachment?
yeah. We just got one.
Yeah.
We made it or whatever. We bought the brackets for Encon because we like welding. I love welding. Like if I wasn't landscaping, I'd probably be a welder. Um, so that, yeah, we kind of try and make our own attachments and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll see.
That's
Maybe
awesome.
there's an opportunity there. I was back when talking like making decisions. Like one of my favorite lines, and I don't know. I just kind of tooting my own horn here, but I think some of the best decisions I've ever made were ones that didn't make any sense at the time, but they you just make them work out, and yeah, it just makes you work that much harder. And not that there's anybody out there saying like, you ain't gonna make it, or at least I don't hear them, but just makes you work that much harder to.
Man, I love that. I think that's so spot on. And I was actually talking to somebody today, and they asked the question, something along the lines of what you said there. Is just like, did you ever have an idea in your business, or did you ever had to like have to scrap the idea of your business? And I said, no, but there are many versions of the business that I had to scrap. But the core of it, like you being in business is always going to be there. Me being
Yeah,
in business is always going to be there. The version of Schares Landscaping and Phaser Marketing might look a whole lot different in 3 years and in 5 years, and they probably will. But that's just like being agile in business and always like making sure you're innovating and adapting. And whether you're going from landscaping to hardscaping to dirt work to hardscaping to swimming pools, whatever it is. And for us, the conversation is, oh, there's AI coming in. Oh, is that going to put you out of business? I'm like, no, because we're always like staying on top
right.
of it, everything and either utilizing it or not utilizing it and being that, that front runner for it. So
Yeah.
just
There's
always,
a personability factor there too, where,
yeah,
you're not going to get that from AI, I don't think. So,
right, exactly. And then just like who do you want to work with? That's at the end of the day in any
right.
business. That's with you guys, with us. Who do you want in your corner for the long haul? And
Yep.
it's that's what's going to get you there. So I think that's why it's so much more important to focus on your core principles of like who do you want to work with? What does our company exude? Like who are the people that we hire? Who are the people that we bring in? And
Yeah.
what do we want to accomplish? And so just holding that standard. And I think that's just part of being a leader in your business and continuing to like drive that drive that your team to get to that next level of like this is the bar we're at and we need to elevate each other to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we're definitely there. Charlie knows what I expect. I just, this week I've been in the office. He tore down a fence and graded out a yard, and I'm like, man, I couldn't have done it any better myself. And it was awesome. Like, I'm like, dude, nice job. And yeah, he did a really good job. So yeah, I just feel like I think we've kind of been stagnant for a little bit with what's going on, and in years we've made some pretty big jumps. And I know at some point, there's going to be some stalemates or whatever, where you just need to kind of tread. But at the same time, no, like I've never been, we've never been just coasting. And yeah, I mean, like we talked earlier, you gotta stay afloat, but it's got to make sense too. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think too, just being in business, like we're all kind of crazy anyway. But we all love a little bit of like that. Well, yeah, this is why we're doing it. Like, let's go get it. We know we have the confidence in ourselves and in our teams to deliver. So why not go deliver?
yeah,
And that's part of it. But then kind of the advocate of that is saying like, to do that, we need to make sure we stay afloat, and to make sure that we're not making stupid decisions on, equipment or jumping too fast or any of
right,
that. But at the same time, on the other side, like, hey, we're entrepreneurs in the greatest country in the world. Like, let's go make it happen. And we're young, and
right.
you're not quite 35, almost there. And it's like, dude,
I
let's
feel
go make
35.
let's go make it happen. And so it's just so exciting. And then you look at your past years too of when you're in business and you're like, yeah, I was young and dumb there too. But that's how we got to this point as well.
Right. Yeah, for sure. That's I mean, there's educated risks you got to take, and yeah, you got to make sure they're educated, I guess.
Yeah, as educated as possible, as they will be. So
Yeah, yeah. They don't have to make 100% sense. You just got to make them work, and
yeah.
within your means, I guess. So
Yeah, be who you can afford to be is what I always hear. And I
yeah,
love that. And don't focus too much on Instagram. Luke Payne says that all the time. I mean,
yeah,
it's comparison is the thief of joy, all the sayings,
right.
they're all so true, but run your own race, run your own business, take care of your people, take care of your family first, always. Don't get too starry-eyed and just like get after it. And like you mentioned earlier, it's going to be a lot of hard work, but you just got to keep working towards it and continue making those educated decisions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, not everything on social media is how life really is. So
Speaking of that,
believe it or not.
we'll pivot a little bit. So your
Everything. All right.
social media, dude. So the ice cream
Yeah,
and and then was that the same video as the demo where you're like,
that was. We
little
literally
more?
shot those the same day. It's in my small hometown. So we
Oh,
just got done working at this job where they sell ice cream. It's 1854. If you're ever in Gilbertville, Iowa, it's good ice cream. So
wait.
anyway,
What's the place?
1854. It's well, the building is literally was the Cornerstone. That was the bar that was there. So I was just gonna say it's the cornerstone of the community, but
Yeah.
it was. So anyway, we were working just a block up the road, so we didn't even put the excavator on a trailer and tracked right up there. I called my video guy. I was like, "Hey, I got some pretty good ideas here," and he's like, "I'm on my way." And
That's awesome.
yeah, so he did
Yeah.
his thing, and made it magic.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty funny. So
I thought it was great. So obviously for anyone listening, got to go check it out. You talked about this a little bit. So you have a video guy. What does that mean? How did you get in touch with him? Because you've been one where from a very long time ago, I've noticed all of your stuff, and it's so important to your brand and just for getting yourself out there. But how did you get involved with like creating content for your company?
I think so Aaron Witt, I believe, he was like, you got to put your company on social media. And we just finished up a pretty big retaining wall, one of the biggest ones I think I'll probably ever build, will ever build. I shouldn't say that, but I was like, you know what? I was kind of over it at the time. You know, things weren't, nobody was liking anything or whatever, and that was stupid.
Sure.
I just kind of quit posting. I'm like, whatever. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it another shot. It was kind of fun. Not that things are like blowing up now, you know,
Right.
but it's
They are. I mean, come
they're
on now.
yeah, different medias are. But anyway, yeah, I mean, people like seeing that, is, you know, as little as they probably say something to you, but there's certain groups of people that really enjoy watching it every video, and that's pretty cool. And I don't know that I've actually gotten any jobs from it. I mean, directly, probably have. It just didn't get brought up, you know, and the name's getting out there. It helps spread the word. And yeah, I know people are watching this. It's so yeah, it's definitely, it's free to post, and the content is it's important. It's got to be engaging. And so back to my video guy, he contacted me. He needed his yard redone, and he's like, "What do you think about trading some work?" And I was like, "What do you got?" He's like, "I can come out, shoot some video for you." And I'm like, "Yeah, let's give it a shot." And we were starting this retaining wall at our church, and he came out, and like, it's pretty cool to see yourself on camera for the first time. I'm not gonna lie. And I'm like, "Yeah, that's badass. Let's keep doing this." And so yeah, he kind of just come out whenever. He's got a full-time job too, so he just kind of comes out whenever he can. And, just had another kid, so he's been busy. You could definitely tell the difference when he posts, when he edits a video versus when I do. But I don't know. It's fun. It is like, you can see a side of an owner, that nobody else sees, you know, and then you can get it out on the internet. People can see that. I just had a conversation. He's like, "Hey," some guy today, he's like, "Well, who does that? How much it costs?" And I'm like, "I think it's worth it, you know." Lets people see who you really are. You know, if before they consult you about an estimate, they got an idea of how you're gonna talk to them and react, versus some guy that's been pouring concrete for 40 years, and he's like, I'll come do it. You know, it'd be this and this and this, and you know, it's gives them some confidence in you, I guess. That helps too.
Yeah. Well, and think about this too. Let's say the economy is not great, and two contractors come in and their numbers are exactly the same, and one has that brand and that personality and that personable touch, and the other has never been out there. And you know, the client's going to go with you because they know you, they trust you a little bit more. And also too, like you said, it's free. Like, why not go put yourself out there? And it's free to turn the camera around and get on camera. Costs a little bit to have a video editor do it, but it's more than worth it no matter what. And it's just funny to see. So I also want to bring this up too, because you said, you know, I don't know if I've gotten leads from it, who knows, but think of how many people have seen that, not just for leads, but other contractors. People have reached out to you. You know, if you go to a trade show, you'll be able to meet up with so many other people that know who you are in a town of Jessup, Iowa. And you know what I mean? And it's like, you're not a massive national company, but people can find you so easily and relate to your content. So I feel the same way with like the podcast. Like, you know, I'm just at home right now, just shooting this podcast with a good friend of mine, and we're just shooting the shit, drinking Busch Lights. But it can relate to somebody else all across the world, and we can you know, get together sometime and have those commonalities. So it's the same thing like what we're doing with the podcast and what you're doing with your media. it's not all about like the leads and the revenue and the money. It's like you're building a brand and something that can
Right.
last so much longer even than, on because it'll give you more options too of what you want to do with the company as you
Sure.
continue to grow.
Yeah, and I think just I mean, you got to kind of post everything, but really focusing on what you want to do really lets people know that you're capable of it for one. And yeah, it might shoot some of the tire kickers away. They're just like, we'll see what it's worth. Like this guy ain't gonna want to waste his time on it, which might be true and might not. So it could hurt and help, but yeah, I think it's definitely helped for sure.
Yeah.
Takes a lot of time. There's no doubt about it. But yeah.
Yeah, that's
Sure.
running a business, man. There's a lot of pieces to it. You wear a lot of hats, but
Yeah.
yeah, you gotta have fun with it as well. Kind of as we wrap up here, I wanted to, we've got a lot of guys that, are in landscaping that listen to the show. A lot of guys that were in landscaping that are now doing dirt work that listen. If you could give some advice, young 20s, we'll say maybe 18 to 25-year-old, just starting their landscaping company, they want to get going. Like, what would you do if you could go back to the beginning and do something different or do something the same? Like, what piece of advice would you give to somebody listening?
I would invest in equipment earlier,
Hmm.
for sure. My dad bought a dump trailer, and that was my first piece of equipment. And I think I wore the paint off of that floor just shoveling rock out of that thing into a wheelbarrow. And had to just bought a skid loader, like took the plunge on a payment. Just think about how much easier those jobs would have been, and how much quicker you could have got them done and on to the next one.
Right.
That's kind of something that I was thinking we were going to talk about here today, like just knowing your numbers and being efficient. Like, your numbers can kind of stay the same if you keep and if you move quicker. That's more revenue, more income. It's yeah, that's definitely the thing I would do differently. Invest in some equipment.
Yeah. And so, like you just mentioned there, knowing your numbers, that's something that, and actually, I wanted to say this too. That's what I appreciate so much about Luke Payne is that he does have that mentality of like, I can just buy this piece of equipment to make us so much more efficient and get it done so much faster to go to the next one. And it's
Yeah,
something that I've struggled with just on like the payment side of things, but it's shown it doesn't work for everybody, but it's can that mindset can really work well for a lot of people. But when it comes to knowing your numbers, like you mentioned there, for one, how important has that been for you? But two, what does that mean and how do you get to know your numbers? Like, how do you even get started with that?
yeah. So I don't know that I know my numbers like 100%, but I definitely know them better than I did 2 years ago. You just
Yeah.
I break everything down into four different categories. You got overhead, you got labor, your material, and then a profit. Um, and your overhead is a very broad term. You can put anything you want in there. It's just got to be, things that you can't bill for. That's that your, registration, taxes, your own salary is. I have that in overhead. I have, fuel and overhead. It's just, I kind of took an average of what I spent the past couple of years, and granted that's probably changed, but I definitely know I'm recovering my expenses a lot more now. Where you used to do a job for $1,500 and took you all day, and you're like, oh, I'm pretty good there, and then you actually know your numbers, and you're like, I lost money today.
Right. When you factor in the material, the labor, the overhead,
Yeah,
it's like
yeah.
that's not
That
good.
that that's gonna help. Like that's huge. People are. I, I wish bids were closer because there's some numbers that I hear given out, and it's like, have it. That's all yours. Not that we're the most expensive, but we're definitely not the cheapest. And I hope that's just because I'm one of the few that know my numbers. I don't know. I feel like we move pretty good. Like I say, we don't really have much stand around time. Everything clicks pretty good. So yeah, that's big. That'd be another thing of starting a business is knowing your numbers. You don't probably have a lot of overhead, but just know what you're worth too.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
Yeah, I think when you start looking at your business as like, I want to do this for a long time and I want to build like a business, not just a job for myself, you do kind of force yourself into knowing like, what are we making money on this job? Are we making money this month? Like, how are we
Yeah.
doing? Because short term, you can get by without knowing your numbers. And maybe in a couple years, you can not know your numbers, just trust your accountant, that kind of thing. But as the owner, it is your responsibility to
Yeah.
know what you're bidding, know your numbers, know your profits, like at least a ballpark. Like, what's our target that we're going for?
Right.
And especially as you continue to grow or just like plateau, that's even more important of just like, do I hire? Do I bring on more equipment? Can I afford either? And you really don't know unless you know your numbers. So
Right.
what system do you use? Do you use QuickBooks? Do you have a budgeting app or do you spreadsheet? What do you use currently? Oh, I love it.
Notebook.
Love it.
Yeah.
So we got the
So
notebook.
yeah, a lot of I'm not in the spreadsheet world.
Same.
But throw square foot numbers out the window. There's so many variables and so many different things that square foot numbers are good to look at and maybe look in reference to see if you're kind of in the ballpark. But if you're gonna live and die by square foot numbers, I mean, there's things you can, but for the most part, no. I haven't found it. Um, so I just know my daily overhead. And with me and another guy, that's easy. Probably when you get into 3 or 4 crews, it's harder to divide that up. But it's easy for me, so I know my daily overhead, daily labor, and figure out the materials for the job. And I don't know how, but I guess with 15 years experience, you figure out how long things are going to take. So I know how long a job's going to take within a half a day. I'll bet. The whole thing. I'll really break a job down. Like, say we're going to rebuild a retaining wall. Well, we're going to demo that wall in half a day. We're going to dig the footing to finish the day out or whatever. But I just really break it down into sections, and then your base course, your next course, and then compaction and all that stuff. But there's so many variables in there, like how close is the material? How close can you get the material?
Yeah.
The square foot numbers are silly, in my opinion.
So when you say square foot numbers, what do you mean by that?
So, like, I guess when I kind of started, you'd look at a new build on a retaining wall, and it was like $25 a square foot. Well, I mean, yeah, go ahead, but
Right, right.
you'll figure it out pretty quick, I think. So, yeah, I mean, and then like pavers, like laying down pavers, there's a square foot in it. I got a little bit good at it, like, because that's how I was doing jobs. So you'd look at the material and see how much it was a square foot, and then you'd have I guess, your other inputs as a separate item in a square foot. So you just change that variable of the material. But that wasn't even close. So, like, say, do you need to fill in 6 inches on this side versus cut? That's a lot of different. Not that
Yeah,
rock's that expensive, but you can't put that in a square foot number. So
right, exactly. So basically, it's like a margin or a buffer getting like more exact instead of just
yeah,
looking at the square foot number.
yep.
Yeah. Would you
So
say though that like it's a lot of trial and error, right? Of just like
absolutely,
you got to get some jobs under your belt. You got to probably make
yep,
some expensive mistakes, but then
yeah,
that's when they're the least expensive is when you're starting. And
yep.
so that's when you got to make them, right?
Yeah, and then just doing things right when you're young too. If you make a lot of mistakes when you're young, which you're going to, but stand behind your work when you're young, and yeah, because those could probably come back and haunt you when you really get things rolling and you don't have time to go fix that job that you made $800 on. And maybe you made $800 on. You thought you did at the time, and you probably didn't.
Right.
To just learn how to do things right um, and do them right. So
Yeah, absolutely. And then, yeah, I mean, like you said, just owning up to it too, and just being transparent with, usually this would be a residential client or whoever it might be, but just letting them know where you're at. And you never know. Sometimes they'll work with you or they'll split it with you, but just owning up to it of like, yeah, this is totally on me. I'm gonna fix it. And you never know, that might turn into another job in the future with that
yeah,
client just because they trust you and they're like, yeah, this guy's good stuff. Like they're gonna
yeah,
take care of us.
Yeah, that goes a long ways. It definitely does.
Yeah. And then how important is it? It's easy enough. It's better now in business, but when you're starting out, can you be selective with your clients? Because obviously there's some bad clients out there, but also you're new and so you're trying to get going. Like what are your thoughts on that of like being selective with your clients?
Here's what I'll say. No, don't be, because you got to take your bumps, and
Absolutely.
you got to be a pretty good judge of character. That goes a long, long ways. You know, you got to be able to go into an estimate and see, okay, yeah, this guy's, this gal, they're not on the same page. It's going to be a fight to the end, and I guess you want to give them a number back because you have to. Maybe try and price yourself out of that job. I mean it's an easy way out. It is, or just yeah. I mean, I say you need to take your bumps because you really need to be able to judge character. That's a big part of business. And you don't, say even like a bigger company, like you don't want your guys working for somebody that's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
They're going to come home pissed off, and um, yeah, it goes all around, I guess.
Yeah, it's almost like it's easier when you're small, when it's just you to take some of those. But when you have the responsibility of your team and people that trust you, and then you stick them with a client that is a nightmare, it's like it's not just you anymore. It's like the responsibility of
Right.
your team and your company. I mean, but I think it is, you just don't know exactly who those are, what to look for sometimes in those red flags early on, but you quickly learn through some, past clients and like some moments where you got burned where you're just like,
Yeah.
yeah, now I can see the red flags, and you're always going to have those in business, but just continuing to remember what those red flags were. And I think it just comes down to like trusting your gut. Like I've seen this before. The money looks good, but I know how this is going to end, and it's going to end in
Yeah.
a loss and a headache. And I'm going to be kicking myself for even taking this thing,
Or worse, you could get drug into court from yeah. So stay away
which
from those.
which is almost a guarantee in those red flag situations. It's like you're going to get drug into court and you're going to be sitting there where you don't want to be. And so just making sure you can see those situations, but also um, being as transparent as possible up front, talking with the person, and then just seeing like, is this somebody we even want to work for? Is the money
Right.
worth it?
Yeah, you got to ask the right questions too, and that doesn't come, overnight. You got to see if there's maybe more work they'd want to do, or you just can't limit yourself to what's in front of you, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. And you gotta go hustle and you gotta go make it happen too.
You do
So
have to
it's
hustle a little bit, that's for sure. But
right. But
yeah, you gotta be a businessman a little bit sometimes. My big line is I'm not a salesman, which I'm not, but I want to give every customer the best experience, and I don't want them to have to pay extra for somebody or me to come back and do something later that we could have just taken care of, like
right.
in a half a day when we were there. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's
exactly. So
yeah,
it's a little bit easier though too when you're continuing to grow and you have a little bit more decision power and you have more situations under your belt. So
right.
yeah, you gotta keep making those decisions and keep running through it, and then you'll get to this point where you're like, yeah, I don't think we need to take that job on.
I don't think I'm there yet, so I still got some bumps in front of me, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Yeah. And that's the fun part too, is you get to take the bumps and you get to take the learning moments and just keep implementing them of like what you want to be doing.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're fun, Luke, but
Yeah. Right.
they're
Exactly.
necessary.
Got to keep the positive mindset here.
That's right. That's right.
No, but dude, this
So,
is so glad we got to make this happen.
yeah.
Dude, very excited to run this episode back and do a second episode likely next spring or next summer, just so we can show everybody, some of the decisions you made, what you're doing for 2025 and all that. But Ryan, I'm out of Bush Lights now, but
I'm
Cheers,
not,
man.
yeah.
Absolute blast. Thank you for being
Thanks
on
for
the
having me
show.
on. It was fun. It was when you asked, it was pretty a highlight. I'm like, oh man, scraping the bottom of the barrel here, but
Oh, no, dude.
it was pretty neat. And I don't want people to think that I know what I'm talking about because I probably don't. I just got a little bit of experience, so I'm not
Yeah.
the smartest, that's for sure. But
Yeah, and nobody does. Nobody knows everything. And that's the great thing about this podcast. We just get to like dive into it and somebody's gonna grab a nugget from something you said. And that's the
yeah,
beauty of
hopefully,
it. Not every single person is going to learn something from every episode, but this one it's just like your real life experience of what you're currently going through. Those are my favorite of like we're actively talking about business, just like we would if we were having beers in your garage. So
right?
we just get to broadcast it to everybody.
Yeah. Hey, maybe someday we should have beers in the garage.
Let's do it. Only a couple hours away. So, oh
Sounds
man,
good.
I love it.